It's the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, AM 1160 and 101.1 FM, and our conversation with Chad Carrick of REA, brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Chad Carrick is with us this morning. Chad, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you on the air with us today. Broadband is such a huge topic and a huge issue here around our area, and it might actually have an application with REA. And you were talking about that at the annual meeting for REA members. I was there, and I thought, wow, folks need to hear about this. And I think, Chad, one of the first things we need to do is define what REA is and how it functions and what membership in REA really means. So let's start there.
Okay. Well, REA Energy is one of about 930 electric cooperatives throughout the United States. Electric cooperatives all started late 1930s, early 1940s, and really what started the electrification of rural America. Back then, leadership and politics realized that in order for the United States to be an economically viable and competitive country, that they needed to electrify the points in between. And as a co-op member, you're not just a customer, you're a member. So there are member benefits that come beyond electricity. Even now, we offer discounts of local businesses and national businesses through the power of purchasing through the 930 cooperatives, for instance. So that's just one member benefit that we offer, and that kind of dovetailed into the whole broadband mentality that you have you have rural areas, and the competitive businesses kind of leave off at a certain point, and the non-competitive businesses, such as co-ops, kind of take over from there. And with the changes in the electric grid that are coming, we're in a situation where the electric industry is changing more than it has over the last several decades, that we have to look at some type of broadband even for our own use. And when you look at Indiana County and Carrick County, we're no different than a lot of the other co-ops. There's no broadband. And so since we kind of need some broadband to begin with just to run our own grid, we're exploring the idea of going beyond just our needs to our individual members.
And I thought it was really interesting at the meeting, and then it was reinforced by an article in the one of the then subsequent issues of Penlines, broadband as the answer to declining membership, which is an angle that maybe a lot of people would not have considered before, but it is a real issue with REA, isn't it?
It is. There are maps that the FCC has and that the Department of Agriculture has that shows that a lot of Indiana County, a lot of Carrick County, especially in the northern sections of the two counties, do not have viable high-speed internet as defined as 25 megabyte download, 3 megabytes upload. And really that's even starting to become a little bit slow, but it's a lot better if you have nothing. So there are a couple of studies out there through consortiums of counties. The Southern Allegheny County Consortium has a study that includes like Carrick County, Somerset County, and heading east. And then there's another study that takes care of Allegheny County, Greene County, Washington County. They did independent studies, and both studies showed that if you want to compete as a county, if you want to compete economically, you have to have high-speed broadband access. And that's an independent study from anything that we've done or anything that the government has completed. And so as a result, we really looked at those, and we looked at our declining membership and our declining consumers, and realized that it may not be a silver bullet, but you have to do something, and that's why we're exploring it.
Well, and one of the great aspects of that is that should it become a reality, that would obviously have the impact of attracting new business, giving people more options in terms of the way that they conduct their businesses, and it ends up being a win-win for everybody involved, and hopefully ends up being a win for REA too, and it helps to steady that base.
Yes, it definitely would, and we definitely think that it could attract not just new businesses, but new residents as well. As the rural America, it's no secret, is aging in population. A lot of the youth has moved out of the counties, not just in REA territory, but overall we've lost over 15,000 residents in in just our areas alone. That's not counting the more populated areas. And so when we take that into account, you try to replace the folks that leave. And the younger folks are not going to move to an area that doesn't have good broadband for many reasons. First of all, they're dependent on it. But if you have children, and in order for them to compete with the more urbanized areas, you have to have good, solid broadband access. And without that, a lot of the young families just aren't going to move to the rural areas.
Chad Carrick is our guest this morning here in Indiana in the Morning. He is the president and CEO of REA Energy Cooperative, based right here in Indiana. And as we think about timetables and decisions that have to be made, I'm sure that you have something in mind, and maybe it's not for public consumption because there's so much that has to be done before you really set something in stone. But if it were your dream to get this all done and everybody would be able to benefit from it, what kind of a scope are we looking at?
If I could just do what I wanted, of course, we'd like to get started right away. But it is a pretty expensive endeavor to do, and so we want to make sure to take a very measured, educated, well-researched approach. And we're in the process of that now. We've done our surveying. Surveying looks like membership is very positive with it. But we also want to hear from our members, so we're going to start focus groups, and those will be getting started here in the next couple of months. And then we're going to go from there. So we do have a concept. We want to fine-tune that concept. And then from that standpoint, because it is an expensive endeavor, we're going to work with our politicians at all levels. And we're also going to look for grants and see if we can make a case to go ahead and move forward.
Are there other cooperatives across Pennsylvania that are taking that same approach?
Yes, there is a cooperative, Tri-County Rural Electric Cooperative, that has already started. And there are several other cooperatives that are looking into it. And across the United States, there's over 100 cooperatives that are already in some capacity started this project on their own.
Oh, that's actually good because you can sort of go to school on them a little bit, can't you?
Yes, and that's the wonderful thing about cooperatives is that we work well together. It's one of our guidelines to work well together. So I can always call on one of those 100 cooperatives out there to see what they realize it was very positive or very negative. And that helps us to try and come up with the best product that we can offer.
Well, at this time of the year, so many people watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and they see the island of misfit toys that seem to be forgotten. It's good to know that for folks who live within the membership area of REA, that they're not forgotten at all, that you're actually working on some solutions that may be able to help people sort of step up and be a part of a really, really good thing, broadband for rural Pennsylvania through REA. Chad, while I have you on the phone, I want to ask you a couple of other things.
Okay.
And on other topics. One of those is we've got this storm here this morning, and it's amazing to me with the wind that we had a couple of weeks ago. Our power never went out once. But as we get into the winter season and storms start to approach, I know that you and the crews and everybody involved at REA, you're really concerned that people get their power back on because it really becomes life and death at this time. So you watch those outages, and it just amazes me. Folks can get out as quickly as they can to get the lights turned back on.
Yeah, we have wonderful employees here, and we work with wonderful contractors. We have over 2,600 miles of line through some of the worst, most difficult territory of the counties because we're in the rural sections. And the linemen, the office employees, management, the board of directors, we're all 100% behind getting electric connected back up as fast as possible. So much so that there are 14 cooperatives in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and I actually just sent some linemen out to help the New Jersey cooperative because that storm that just rolled through dropped, I think, somewhere around 10 inches of snow and a quarter inch of ice with that cooperative. So even if we don't have enough folks to restore quickly, we can call on other cooperatives to come help us and contractors. And whenever that happens, it's all hands on deck, and we just work continuously to get that done as fast as possible because of what you said. Sometimes it could be a matter of life and death. But more importantly, we just want our rural members to be up and running as fast as possible with the least amount of disruption in their lives. I
know you also have programs where folks can actually purchase generators through REA as well, don't you?
Yes. We have for-profit subsidiary, RE Energy Services, and more and more people, because of connectivity, because they work from home or maybe they have medical issues, they can't even go an hour without electric. And so we do our best to sell those generators as cheap as possible because it's more of a service. We're a nonprofit company, and we do everything possible to get people to safe and secure with the least amount of money spent.
I remember talking last year with the folks at Penelec here on Indiana in the Morning about the ash trees and how they really endangered Penelec lines and getting the lines clear of all of that dead wood and people realizing that those lines run right through pretty densely forested areas. REA had to deal with that as well, didn't you?
Sure. It's really a travesty. In this position, you start to really pay attention to trees. And, if you go up and down any of the rural areas and you just kind of look, almost every dead tree you see is an ash tree. And a lot of times after a windstorm, you'll see some debris laying on the road like you haven't really seen over the past couple decades. Almost all that's ash trees, branches falling down, the whole tree trunk falling down. And it's been a real problem. A lot of times when we do have an outage, it ends up being an ash tree that came down. And when we do go cut trees, if we see ash trees even outside of our right-of-ways, we will go ahead and take them down because they are a danger tree.
Yeah, and they can cause real problems. You see them, you especially see them in the summertime when all the other trees have their foliage, and you got naked trees, and those are usually the ash trees.
Yeah,
we know are
sometimes you'll see a whole valley or a whole section or a whole hillside dead. Those are usually ash trees.
Amazing. It really is amazing. And it's amazing to me that you guys are able to get the lines back up. And when something comes down, something goes wrong, crews are out there. It doesn't matter what time it is. Chad, I want to thank you for being on the air with us today. We're going to look forward to following this broadband issue. And come back and visit with us again, will you?
Okay. I appreciate the invitation.
All right. We'll see you.
All right, thank you.
There's Chad Carrick from REA with us here this morning on Indiana in the Morning, presented by First Commonwealth Bank. We're about a minute and a half away from Fox News coming your way at the top of the hour. It's just a couple of moments away. Josh Whittison in our newsroom right after that.